Give me an intro. Do your thing.
All right.
What do you do?
So, well, would you start the intro off? I would assume.
Yeah, I'd be like, hi, I do deep dungeon solo, blah blah blah, and they'd be like, hey, this is Frosty. This is Frosty. What do you do? Hello, something like that. I don't know. It's a lot more professional.
Hey guys. Yeah, I'm Frosty. I play this game. Let's just go. No, I think it'd be more like, hey guys, I'm Frosty. I do some community work with the Final Fantasy XIV community things with the world race for the game, and run a podcast for it. And I'm a huge fan of Angelus Demonus, as he is my raid leader, and not my raid leader, but I guess my FC leader. Although, how active is our FC?
I mean, people are there,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've neglected it, but it's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're my FC leader here. I've known you for a very long time. Huge fan of your content. Nowhere near as skilled, and I require a mouse.
My mouse is right here. Okay.
You just have it there just to tease people?
Yes, actually, everyone thought it was a good idea to just have it in the middle, so there it is.
Okay, that's great. I'll probably think of a couple different ways to introduce yourself. I don't know. I want it to be mostly about you though, because this is like a cool thing that you're doing.
I would really actually kind of like it if you promote your charity race and what you do. Like that would be sure. Awesome. Because that'll probably be like right around the corner.
It'll be like a week or two after.
Yeah, so definitely use that to get that out there for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I'll mention the world race to say it's coming up.
Yes.
And all that great stuff. And I think Extra Life is a charity we're doing, so I'll push that. Well, it does. I guess it doesn't matter if it's conflicting charities with whatever. It's not conflicting. There's no conflicting charities, I guess, right? That doesn't exist.
Save your money, guys, for that one.
Yeah, save your money. Don't do it now. Donate later to my event.
Oh my god. Okay, so I think what I want to start with is explaining a little bit on the sustaining potions, because we'll just be popping those as we go through them. So, we have these sustaining potions that we get from this NPC, which we can trade off with an item called the Gilmoran Potsherd. And this is kind of the key thing that we need to kind of survive in here. This will give me a passive regen. It lasts 15 seconds. Its recast and cooldown is 15 seconds. And that's one of the things that you'll see me popping a lot on the run. The top row, you'll see it at the number 4. It's at grayed out right now, but that's the item I'll be popping a lot. Because I think, generally speaking, that's probably something I'll take for granted. So I just want to mention that right away. Because then people will be like, "Oh, why are you, how are you surviving in here?" Well, that's why I'm surviving here.
What exactly does the sustaining potion do?
It's a regen, a passive regen.
Just a regen.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it heal, like, per second, like percentage of your health?
Actually, maybe like 10%. No, that's more than that. Maybe 20%. It's a large amount.
Yeah, that's a huge amount.
So let's do a normal pull. So let's do this normally, without any potions, without any healing. If I just kind of stand here, we're going to be taking a pretty decent damage. This enemy here is pretty simple. It has a avoidable telegraph, but as you can see the damage you're taking. So what I want to do is I want to be kiting, and I want to be using some of my abilities. I also forgot raising, so raising will keep me alive. If I die in here, I can at least get back up, because if I were to die without that raising, we are kaput. The run is over. But what we want to do is we want to be running around, kiting around, to be able to mitigate the damage. To kind of make this a little bit easier on myself. Also, it is the big advantage of this job, Machinist, which is a physical range DPS, to allow that to happen. In the run, we'll have gold chests, treasure coffers that can give us different power-ups. Most of my commanders at the moment is full from the previous run. So anything extra I'll be utilizing as we go along, or whatever I see fit as we do things. Also, I just used an ability there called Peloton, which increases my movement speed out of combat, so it does help with the navigation as we do this run. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to just kill enough enemies to open up an exit. The exit and the amount of kills needed is a little RNG. Basically, it's between about 4 to 8 on this set of the amount, and you'll see there is a map that I have in the top right corner that says 471, and they'll have this key that'll change color every time I get a kill, and it'll give me a little bit of a an idea of how long of how we're doing, but it's actually pretty like not accurate. Like it's not at a precise number. It can pop to the key we need to show us that the key is available like randomly. There's no really rhyme or reason on it, but it gives a general idea of how we're doing. Now this enemy here is a Bandersnatch. It's actually one of the more difficult enemies to fight because they don't have any telegraphs, but using this room, which we call the donut room, which is a little fortunate that we've got this room, it helps him with fighting, because I can just run around this circle and I don't have to worry too much about damage keeping my regen going on this run. So we kill him out with some of my DCDs and some of my damaged air. Now, enemies in Palace do have different aggro ranges. So the main three that exist are Sights. Well, that's a Mimic actually. Let's talk about a Mimic, shall we? Changing topics. There is a possibility that Mimics can show up from treasure chests, which is terrible because the treasure chests are things that we need to get our power-ups. So this is a pretty brutal enemy. It does a lot of damage. It does. If we're sending an enemy telegraph, so it'll probably kill me straight out. It has an ability, special ability called Infatuation, which gives us a debuff, and that debuff will put an auto heal disable, which means I can't regen while out of combat. It lowers my damage, and it's a 10-minute debuff, and we have a power-up that will specifically get rid of that. That will specifically get rid of that debuff because of how powerful and bad it is. Right there, I just let it get to me on purpose so we can kind of showcase what that is. You'll see a debuff on the bottom right of the top of my hotbar that's there. It's like it says 9 minutes, it's like a purple icon, and it will lower my, it'll give me like a damage over time, which you can see. So I'm not regenerating HP, I'm just taking damage constantly. And we have a power-up, which is called a Purity, that will get rid of that specifically. Now, what I did on the first pull was I used an ability called Head Graze, which allowed me to stop that pox from happening, which is very convenient for this job. And compared to the other jobs that exist, not every job has the ability to actually take that pox and stop that pox. But Machinist is the benefit of that because we have that crowd control to be able to pull something off like that. Here we're fighting a
actually...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that's really awesome. That was a great explanation of all of that, to be honest with you, but how often do you even get mimics in these runs?
Oh, that's an interesting question. It is like really pure RNG. I don't think we've ever parsed like how often they show up percentage-wise. Sometimes you'll just not see them for a little bit. Sometimes you'll just see like literally back-to-back. It's also very possible to get a Mimic within a Mimic, which we like to call it, because you'll get a gold chest that shows up a Mimic, you kill it, it drops a chest, which, by the way, it has a higher chance that it even drops a chest, and then that new chest could be yet another Mimic. And that could technically happen endlessly, although the most I've heard was 5. I've seen 4 on someone else's stream before. But yeah, it can happen, and it could be a real time killer because you just don't know when it's going to show up. It is just pure randomness if that even happens.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing to talk about too, is that you only have 60 minutes to do all these floors no matter what, right?
Yes. Yeah, the timer, you can see the timer, yeah? I think it's supposed to be clear now, because if it isn't, I can make it more clear. But yeah, we do have 60 minutes to get through 10 floors to get to the boss as well. But on this run, I will be trying to get to the boss a little faster than normal because I want to be able to have a little bit of a extra security blanket, because the boss is very tough and we might wipe. So I'm gonna make sure that we have 2 attempts on that boss.
Okay.
That's the first floor. Not too bad. It is worth mentioning that the first floor does not have any debuffs, and that's important because every floor after that will have, as we can see here, some debuffs, and this is it's literally called Gloom, and it looks very gloomy. And what happens with Gloom is that it does increase the enemy movement speed, their damage, and their defense, and you can kind of see the icons on their name at the top of the screen for the Snowclops. So it's something to be definitely concerned with. Now, we have a Pomander that can get rid of it, which I will use in a little bit, especially because we're having a little bit of a problem with a lot of these Cyclopses going in. But I'm going to use that Pomander, which is called the Serenity, which gets rid of those debuffs, and that's real nice because I was doing less damage because I also had something called Damage Down. And then we were doing even further less damage because they had a higher defense. Now, the balance and the difficulty of this content is trying to manage the limited resources you have, because, you know, it'd be nice to get rid of those debuffs every single floor you get, but then at the same time, you don't want to tap out on those serenities because you don't know if you get any back for the rest of the run. Also, these Cyclopses are what we call patrols. So these are the one enemy, there's usually one type of enemy per floor that will have the ability to kind of just walk around the entire room. They'll kind of get a path, and they'll just move around into different rooms and so on and so forth. And I think some of the people watching who are familiar with this, like, will probably be like kind of semi-freaking out because there are an extra ordinary amount of them, which is a little rare, and it really makes it kind of complicated because so you have to dodge around them because you don't want to be dealing with more than one. And I was also mentioning a while ago the different aggro types that we did before the Mimic showed up. We have sight, sound, and proximity. These guys are sight, and what that means is that if I run in front of this will aggro, but if I'm behind it, it's fine. So I ran in front of it, we get that aggro, but as long as I'm not in front of it as it's going around, we're okay. And I was moving around, kind of dodging around them to not take more than one, because in this game mode, especially in the floor this high, having to deal with multiple at a time is very, very, very dangerous and can probably kill you pretty quickly. And not to mention, a lot of those AoEs that you're seeing firing off and a lot of the telegraphs and such are mostly one-shot kills. So if I have to dodge two at the same time, and at different timings, then it's gonna get pretty brutal. That aggro's okay. The enemy was just about to die, so that's okay. But some enemies don't have telegraphs, so this one is a glower, and that would clearly, well, not clearly, but it would one-shot me if I were to get hit by that one. So we have to just make sure that we are being very diligent to avoid that. More Cyclopses. Alright.
This looks like pretty brutal here. It was a lot scarier earlier when they were just sprinting around the room, but...
Yeah. And their movements are rather unpredictable. I mean, I know, so this one coming up right in front of me, I know this will basically go from that position to this position over here. So there's no randomness in that. But you still have to kind of manage the fact that they are moving around, and sometimes you have to go and deal with them. So they're just not in your way, or you know, they don't cause you any problems trying to find the exit, which we have not found yet because I haven't even left this room. And
you can see that key building up.
Yeah,
so it's like a red now, right?
It's like it's like an orange, and like I said, it gives you a decent idea, but at least you know that you're getting kills in. But strategy-wise, the thing that we wanna that at least keeps it efficient is I don't want to kill enemies past the exit. So if the exit opens up, I really want to try my best to avoid getting more kills past that, because in essence, no matter how you look at it, no matter how you slice it, killing when the exit's already open is essentially just a waste of time. So we want to be efficient as we move around. That's how we kind of save ourselves time. And of course we get a Mimic here. Well, let me see if I can do a little trickery here. No, I'm gonna die. So the silver chest, the blue chest that's in this room, has a chance at exploding. And we can sometimes use that to our advantage, because it also affects the enemies that we're fighting. So if I do it in a good timing, I could actually kill the enemy that I'm trying to fight, and then boom, we kind of get a quick kill. But it also does do damage to me. It will do 70% of my maximum HP. So in essence, if I'm just below 70%, then I will then kind of like at the box again. Then I will die from the. Oh, that's kind of bad too. Good. Okay. Then I will die from that move. So I need to make sure that if I do it, my HP is high enough for it. I was focusing on the Cyclops and I didn't even bother with the box.
This is really intense, actually. It seems
so now...
intense to me. Maybe it's not intense to you.
It's a normal day in the office. Well, that Mimic dropped me a Serenity, which is real nice. So that was the one I just used, so that's good. Let me see if I can do this. I need a little bit higher HP here. Unfortunately, no tech there. That move would be an one-shot too, and because it's a non-telegraph, I don't exactly know its range. I have a general idea of its range, but I have to make sure I'm not in it. Now we also have to find our way to the exit here. Let's see where the exit is. Okay. So again, benefit of here that these enemies are sight is I can run right behind them And as long as I'm behind kind of the radio here or the dead center, then I'm not going to draw that aggro. I have to avoid the one coming from this one. Here. I may be able to beat the one coming this... No, I can't. I gotta wait for him to walk past. It looks like the exit is up. Wait, where's the exit? Oh, this is the problem when I don't know where the exit is. So we're gonna use the... We have a commander here called Affluence. It basically just increases the amount of chests that could possibly show up in the next floor. Which is good, because I mean, these chests give power-ups, and if we are able to utilize more power-ups, we can kind of get stronger and kind of move through the floors faster. And again, they're limited. We can only have, if you see, I have a lot of 3s in my inventory for my character info, and these commanders that have these power-up items in the list. So each of them will help me on the run, more or less. So the more I get, the more it kind of speeds up things. But if I kind of avoid these chests and I don't look for them, then there's a possibility that I would tap out and I wouldn't be able to continue past this one. I guess the exit's over here. That's unfortunate. I didn't realize the exit was over here. Thanks.
Yeah, way back there.
Yeah, I should have seen it initially, but that's okay. We can make up the time. Okay. Waiting for the Cyclops to move out of here. And then I can kind of rush through, and I can just get the site aggro is like a conal. So think of like the middle and then shoots out like a conal vision. There is definitely like a range, like he's not gonna see like across the entire map, but there's a general range that exists. And I just want to be within that conal and kind of just be on the side so I can avoid the aggro, and that's what I did there. So I wasn't waiting for him to completely go away from me. Loom again. So here I do want to try to... We'll do another Serenity just because I do want to demonstrate something. We have a Polemander's Sight here. And the Polemander's Sight allows me to see the entire floor. So now I know where the exit is, which is on the far right of the key symbol. But there's also these red icons that'll be on the floor. And they are traps. And each of them will do something negative. So this one in particular, this looks like a... kind of like a spade, if you will. That will spawn additional enemies if I were to use that. And this is actually rather convenient because I will actually just demonstrate a way that we do for some other jobs. This isn't a job that I would recommend doing it on, but we can do something to kind of go a little bit faster. So I'm going to pop a Steel here just to kind of make this a little better. I'm also going to pop a Strength. A Steel increases my defense, and a Strength increases my damage. So I'm going to step on this Luring Trap on purpose. Oh, that's not good. That's fine. I'm going to step on this Luring Trap on purpose, which will spawn 3 additional enemies, which we've been just talking about how bad it is to have literally more than 1 enemy. But we're going to do this just to showcase something here. I have a Witching, which will turn things into different various animals here, right there. So, this other trap right here is a landmine. And what happens is if I step on this landmine, it will damage me and it'll damage the enemies at the same time. So I'm gonna time this right. If I do this right, I gotta make sure I survive here, which is a little tough. Gonna try to do damage here. Oh, I'm almost dead. You know why? Because I burned all my heals on that one. That's fine. Welcome to death. I'm gonna re-raising here, and that raising, by the way, was good because that allowed me to get back up. If I didn't have that raising, then that thing is good as done. The reason that didn't work was because, I know why it didn't work, because I popped all my heals already. That's fine. That's why I practice it. That is one thing, by the way, Frosty, I do want to do. Like, I want to force myself to do, because there really isn't going to be opportunity to otherwise to do that. And it's absolutely unnecessary, but it's basically just to show off, like, oh, these are the mechanics that we can do in here, you know?
Sure. You need the raising part?
Yeah, definitely need the raising part. What's this?
Okay. Okay.
Oh yes.
And I'll be shocked. I'll be very shocked when you die. Like, this has never happened. It's just thank goodness we put a checkpoint there. Man, GDQ marathon luck, Jesus. No, I know exactly what. But I knew why that didn't work because I already had a problem with It's fine. Anyway, that's details. But we'll make it up from there. I gotta pick up that Witching that I utilized. The only downside is I use that Steel, which means I have to kind of. Oh, that's not gonna be good. Take him here. So one of the strengths of Machinist right now, which we'll demonstrate, is I have, again, we're a kiting job. So one thing we'll be able to do here is we'll be able to utilize some of my tools here, like Sprint, to kind of keep the enemy away and to be able to try to do damage with this enemy as we're trying to kill it. And this enemy is very deadly. The wolf is very bad. It puts a DOT on me and it heals itself whenever it does damage. So
by kind of keeping away from this thing and doing the crowd control and whatnot, it allows us to more or less handle this enemy. Most jobs would not deal with this. Most jobs will avoid this because of how kind of hard it can be. But thankfully, because we have the ability to kite and we have some crowd control, and I use something called leg graze, which allows me to put a weight on it so it moves a little bit slower so to keep up with me, that allows me to kill that one, and also remedy that problem that we accidentally aggroed that enemy right there. I'm gonna move along here, see what kind of power-ups we have. Safety, the one you just showed up on the screen does remove the chaps, but I would prefer not to remove the chaps, because we want to... well, that works out. Because we want to be able to potentially use some of these traps to give us a little bit of an advantage. And here I will try this again. We'll do a landmine, but this will be only one kill. I step on the landmine, it hits all the enemies here, and because of that, I can do a much faster kill on some of these guys, as you see here, which allows me to kind of speed up the process, if you will.
It's kind of funny, they blow up and they're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not in the range, you know, they're like, who did that? I can't see. I don't know, what is that?
Must have been the wind.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting through the floor here. Have to get a couple kills in. So Frosty, what do you think? I know you just had a show about physical range DPS, and I know they were talking about how Machinist was supposed to be good in this content.
Machinist has to be good in some content, right?
I guess that's one way to look at it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty amazing. This is definitely like, if you're getting into Deep Dungeon, I think Machinist is the one that you want to bring in, just to kind of get used to everything. And it's just, it's really awesome, this piece of content, mostly because you get to have a lot of fun with it, and kind of, it's what do you call it, roguelite?
Yep.
Sort of, right?
Yep, pretty much.
And so you have that situation in this game, and that's what Palace of the Dead and a couple other pieces of content are, in case people are kind of unfamiliar with what this is. It's just multiple floors where you have a different generated floor each time, and enemies are a little bit different, right? And different things in each one.
Yep, exactly. Actually, it's funny. I don't know. Did you see the live letter on Friday?
I read the notes.
When Yoshi P did the Deep Dungeon section, he did like a quick like, what is Deep Dungeon, and then did like a whole slide on that. And I'm like, oh, perfect. This is what I'm gonna use for the. I don't have it up, but I'm gonna totally use that like when you do the thing. Like just literally read it from like note to note of like, you know, what is Deep Dungeon according to Final Fantasy 14. But it was kind of what you said in essence, like the variant of floors, the unique. Like it's ever-changing floors, it's never the same, so on and so forth. Unique armor, which I guess we should probably mention too at some point. But yeah, that was actually really funny that I saw that on Friday.
Yeah, and they shouted out like the solo community and everything else. Yes. So that's pretty awesome.
That was sick.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 14 is a wonderful game. It has all kinds of different ways to play it and kind of get absorbed into it. Whether you like raiding, whether you like doing solo content, it has PvP content that people are really loving this expansion, and lots of role-playing.
Yeah,
huge
role-playing.
Yeah, it's so it really feels like a genuinely like really good MMO that you would expect. MMOs have kind of swayed away from that kind of style, but now you can kind of have a theme park of Final Fantasy. And if you haven't tried it, you can play for free up to level 60.
Yeah, and what's actually really cool is you can do this specific content for free on the free trial. And actually, the job I'm playing, you can do for free on the free trial too. You can do this entire challenge without spending a dime on the game, which is really nice.
Yeah. The problem is, once you do it, you're going to want to get the game anyways, because you'll be like, okay, I'm stuck, and you're going to buy all of it. So
hey, it's been like,
eventually you're going to.
Yeah, this can take hundreds of hours, and you'd be like, you know, already put that much time into this game, may as well continue that.
Yeah.
Alright, here, actually the Serenity's really nice. Here we got ability down, and the problem with ability down is that it does restrict some of the extra power-ups that I would be able to have. So we were using an ability called Reassemble, and Reassemble kind of buffed my attacks, and generally we would use it for that attack that I just did, which is called Drill. And it would bust up the damage, it would do like critical, direct hit, like just basically double the damage And now I don't have that, so my damage output is a lot less, and there's a couple other abilities that I just don't have access to because of that ability down. And so you can see I'm kind of doing a lot slower damage. Here I'm probably going to use the Serenity because I kind of want to move a little bit faster. We're actually going a little slow more than normal, which is perfectly fine because I'll be able to make it up with the bombs that I have. And we are also on the 4th floor, so we've entered 174, and how Deep Dungeon is designed is that kind of on the every 3 floors, aside from the, if anyone noticed the music changing on the 3rd floor, some of the enemies do kind of change around for the most part. Now, the wolves that you saw that kind of obliterated me earlier, they're not, they showed up on like 72, but, you know, here and there, enemies start getting sprinkled in and changing around from floor, but you can kind of just assume that once you step into the 4th floor and the 7th floor, that you're seeing kind of a different version of certain enemies and what they do and their skill kits and whatever. This line is new, we haven't pulled him yet. Basically, he will do some double attacks, which is never fun, because they can attack me twice and do kind of double damage. But he does have a gigantic AoE, which I can just stay away from, which, you know, if he's busy doing the telegraph, then I'll be fine. I'll be fine staying away from him, not taking damage, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to survive on the run. You got that steal back, that's good. So I'm going to pull this wolf here, because I want to get some kills going.
One other thing to talk about is the music. 100%
Yes.
in this that plays throughout this content. It's basically like a randomized jukebox of Final Fantasy music.
It is. At least with Palace, it's more like, I don't know up to what point. I think it's like Heavensward Dungeons and down. Because I mean, this is Heavensward content, so it'll be only that far. But yeah, it's pretty much, it's just a mixture of songs that you'll hear, and I like that feature. I wish they expounded upon that feature a little bit more, or just put more music into it. But
yeah, they have like hundreds and hundreds of songs in this game to utilize. It'd be nice to see a spot for them everywhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because in March we should be getting a brand new Deep Dungeon. So I wonder if they'll expand that feature in there. Like, what kind of music they're gonna put in that one. I'd love to hear like the twinning song Along Fall come into play. To hear that in this content would be sick. So I do wonder how they're gonna handle that with like you said, like literally the hundreds of songs that exist in this content.
Right. So I did want to ask a question. So we're showcasing floor 171 to 180. Why those floors in particular?
Interesting. So when I submitted, oh, excellent! I love this for me. Let's try to manage
Maybe
this.
we need to focus. I don't know.
Oh no, fine. I'll accept the fact that I opened the exit already. So the stop that, Fox. I had submitted 4 runs to the committee, and I guess let me address the fact of why we didn't pick the last floors. Because you kind of assume this is 200 floors, so you'd want to think that the last set of 10 floors, 191 to 200, would be potentially the most challenging, which is fair. But from kind of a lot of the veteran runners' perspective, is that that's kind of the victory lap for a lot of times. And yes, it can get a little spicy depending on what comms you have, or rather what pull manners and power-ups you have. But generally, there's no boss in 200. It's just kind of get to 191 to 199, and then get to 200, which you just kind of walk to the end. And so I had submitted 171 to 180 and a 181 to 190. Those are like the 2 toughest sets to get through this entire challenge. 181 to 190 has a boss called Godfather, which is just a brutal 8-minute fight or less of just a boss that just does tank busters to whatever job you're playing. So if you're a tank, I mean, that makes sense. But if you're a DPS, that's a very painful experience. But I think this one, and probably why it got picked, was because there's a boss, the boss at 180, we call it Behemoth. Its real name is Dendainsonne. And if anyone played Monster Hunter, you would kind of recognize that boss, and he has a DPS check at the end, and we'll kind of talk about that a little more when we get there. But basically, once we get him down to a certain percentage, which is about 15%, he's just going to start spamming a move called the Click the Meteor, which just takes you down to 20% HP, or rather it does 80% HP every time it lands, and he just essentially spams that till the end of time. So either you kill him, or I kill him first. And with a DPS shop like this, we only have so much healing to survive it. It'll make more sense when we see that boss. But I think from the spectator point of view, people who've never really seen this run before, I think it makes sense that gets picked because it's just probably the most visually exciting. I think the floors are tougher in the next set. The enemies are much more difficult. But I think this is probably the last set of the entire 200 where we try to conserve our commanders as much as possible. Even in 181, we're kind of starting to burn palms just to get over to the boss, depending on how things go. But here, like, it's advantageous for me to hold on to as much as I can, which I'm trying to, but I want to also make it to the boss with approximately 20 minutes, because at 20 minutes it gives me and allows me 2 attempts at Behemoth, so we have to kind of get there in 12 minutes. So.
Yeah. That's a little bit... I feel like we're kind of under the... under pressure right now.
Yes, a little bit, but thankfully we have a couple things that we can use with our commanders that can definitely help. One of the ones I used on the previous floor was called a flight, which is the icon that is at the top right corner. It's like a bluish icon above the red one that's below it, and that, in essence, it cuts in half the amount of enemies I need to kill to get off the floor. So, like, I had mentioned that it takes about 4 to 8 kills to get off this floor. Well, what the flight does is it now pushes down to 2 to 4, potentially. I think this is actually my 4th kill to actually get out, and that's kind of bad RNG. It's like a really high number, kind of. But generally, that's what it does. So, no matter how you look at it, it is going to allow you to get through the floors a little bit faster. So that's a big help, especially when you need to move faster.
Okay.
And I will probably use another one just to keep our time in check, because we're about halfway through. But just to kind of keep everything in order, we'll use yet another one to get the enemies moving.
Yeah. And so a lot of your movement, so we saw traps in a previous floor. It might be good to talk about that these traps always exist, you just can't see them, and the way that you move is very important.
Yes. Okay, so let's pop another site here just so we can demonstrate this. So the traps are a little random in terms of where they're located. Now, with the amount of runs we've done on... The game keeps giving me serenities, how kind of them. With the way we've done the runs, we have a general idea of like where these traps can more or less be located. And what you'll kind of notice me doing is I'm running along the edges of the rooms a lot. Like, I'm just kind of hugging the walls and going through. Because majority of the traps, I'd say about like 95% of the traps are going to be more or less in the middle of the room and not really along the wall. And I do say 95% because there are some instances where there will be a trap that is in a literal corner. Like, you hug the wall, no matter how tight you hug the wall, you are stepping on that specific trap. But even then, we kind of have a rough idea of where they are. The traps, there are like kind of a limited amount of traps that do kind of exist. Like you're not talking about like 100 locations and every single pixel could be a trap, but there are a decent amount that keeps it definitely interesting if you're kind of going along the room very blindly and just like walking through. And again, you can kind of see on these red symbols, they're kind of like glowing, and that's those traps. And basically every single trap that's on the ground is a negative of some sort. So you do want to avoid them, and you definitely don't want to deal with them at a really, really inopportune time. Like the luring trap we stepped on would be terrible. Having the landmine trap go off if you're in the middle of fighting something would be also terrible because you get dropped down to a lower HP. Yeah, that's why a lot of times you'll see me really just hugging these walls tightly, and also kind of freely. Because I know that a lot of these traps are not going to get me as long as I'm along these walls. And also worth noting that these little kind of hallways that we call in between rooms, and also the room that we spawn in, does not have a trap, so I can use that as a safety area to go for if I really wanted to. Or I can kind of keep the fight within the hallway, but with machinists in general, running around is more the ideal strategy that we want to do. Here we're going to pull a curl, which we haven't pulled this one yet, and basically what it does, it'll do a conal, which I can avoid, which it didn't do, but it did a paralyze instead, and that is kind of all it does. And the paralyze is pretty brutal. Every so often I'm going to get jolted, and I will just be unable to act, and it is 30 seconds, which is really bad. But these are one of the easier enemies to fight, only because it does do single attacks, and it doesn't really do much else outside of just do damage to me. It does kind of hinder my kiting a little bit, but it's not that bad. But that is their pull. Okay, let's go to the next floor.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Hell yeah!
Okay, we have a donation for $1,227.
Damn, we did it.
This is from Mr. Happy.
Wow,
1227. Yeah, great guy in the community. He's awesome.
He's the best.
His message reads, Angelus, I look up to you daily. When I wake up, I see your picture and I kiss it, and it helps me get through my morning stream.
Wow.
Thank you for being such an inspiration in my life, and keep on soloing.
Dang, thanks, Mr. Happy.
Yeah, Mike's. Wow. Jeez, I didn't know he felt that way.
Wow, you just doxed the dude. Call him by his real name, man.
Well, I mean,
I'm kidding.
he is very obvious that that's not private information, I assure you.
Okay, I'm kidding. Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking that, like, if the run kind of goes a little bit more smoothly, I can probably do the donations, like, I was thinking, like, the 3rd floor, 6th floor, something like that, if we start just repeating enemies, although we had more than enough things to talk about, so that does help, too.
I mean, a lot of those things we can talk about, like those, we can put them in different spots, and let the donation person kind of do what they're doing. I think at the first 1 to 2 floors probably would be like a no-go for donations because there's a lot to explain about the content in general, right? Yeah,
and we have to give some context, of course, to make sure that people understand what the hell they're watching, too.
Yeah. Like, I think it would be a really good idea to talk about the content, what Palace of the Dead is. Like, that's like one of the initial things to talk about. That could even be talked about before the run starts, right?
I think that would probably be a decent idea to do that.
Yeah.
So we had used a formator called an alteration. And what an alteration does is that it's a bit of a gamble. Ooh, that's nice. And what it does is that it changes one of these rooms, which you saw here, into Mandragoras, which are these ones that I just murdered, or mimics, which are really bad. And you saw mimics already from the chests and stuff. But it can be a good time save if they are those Mandragoras because they are one-shot kills and they contribute to the kill count towards the exit, so it's a really good one to have. Now, also, we had just picked up a Poemander called a Rage, which is one of the more powerful Poemanders that we have. And we're going to use it now because we got a free one. And what this does is that I am able to come up to these enemies melee, and we get to one-shot them. And if you've been watching kind of earlier of how we were handling the enemies, we had to whittle them down and kind of slowly kill them, but this allows me to essentially just get rid of them in one go. So I'm going to dump this only because I want to kind of go to the next floor and we'll pick up the free one. And we got enough to get out of the floor, so that's good.
I almost thought we were going to have Godzilla versus King Kong there.
Yeah, oh, Manticore. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like it-ish.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. A little bit of a reach.
Yeah. I have 26 minutes. Time is all right. Again, I want to get to the boss with 20, so I'll probably go a little bit faster, but I do want to pull... Actually, this is a good floor. We'll do another Rage to get to the next floor a little bit faster. So, ooh, that's perfect. So I'm going to pop a sight to see where we're going. So here's like a nice strategy that we can utilize to kind of get a little faster and to kind of speed up. Now, that Rage is really good, and this actually is going to turn out very well. So I'm going to pop a Rage here. And it's been kind of taking us maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get off the floor. But right now what we can do... that's going to be dangerous too. Come on! Okay. I have to be careful, because even in that powerful Rage we could die, so I have to be a little bit careful with my angles. But what this can do is that I get all these kills out of here, and I can get into the next floor kind of without too much of a problem. But hopefully. Let's see, that's a frog trap. Okay, good. We actually got lucky, because if I had needed one more kill... I would have had to go find something, but this is a strategy we called Double Rage, because we can stay transformed getting to the next floor and still utilize this Rage if there's some timer. It lasts for 60 seconds, so as long as I'm proportioning my time correctly, I'm able to get a couple more kills, and we have 16 seconds, and get a couple here to contribute towards the exit over here, which is very, very nice for time and keeping up and catching up to the run. Hopefully I can get you. And I'm gonna bail this. I'm gonna surrender here real fast. So, because I want to demonstrate this ape. This ape is a pretty tough one, as you can see. It just basically nearly one-shots me. But this is a pretty good enemy that we can handle on this job, because we have a lot of tools to stay alive. I'm gonna take another hit from this guy soon. Now, here what I can do is I can do a leg graze, which gives it a weight, and that slows it down a little bit, which means it's trying to struggle to get to me. So that's one way to mitigate, and that lasts about, I believe it's 8 seconds, 10 seconds. Now once that drops, I'm gonna hit a sprint, which increases my movement speed, which we've been using kind of along the course, and allows me to again kind of stay away and mitigate that damage, and allows me to get rid of an enemy that is seemingly annoying and difficult to fight. And I got the rage back just right now, so I can go a little bit faster if needed to. Now I did want to demonstrate one of the enemies that is the most treacherous, which I will try to do here. I'm gonna try to have to do it. Let's do a strength steal here. It's the Anzu, and I want to demonstrate the Anzu because this is the most annoying enemy to deal with. We always recommend never to pull this thing, because it has a gap closer, and it's never cool. So it'll do a DOT on me right there, and it'll literally jump on me and stun me with a Vuln down, which means I'm taking additional damage. On top of it, smashing me. And one of the bad reasons is, aside from the fact that we can actually kill it, it's a stun. I mean, I'm losing damage for that amount of time, as you can see, and it's very painful. And I really buffed myself to make sure that I can actually survive that fight. So that's not a fun fight at all. And he's gonna do it again, I think. Okay, now the apes right now, he's doing a physical Vuln down on me, because what's happening is every so often those apes will get hungry and they'll eat some bananas because they're hungry. But what happens when they eat the bananas is that they start pumping their chests and giving some bone downs in a very, very wide area, and also does damage too. And so being near them can cause issues if you're trying to fight up an enemy too. It just makes it, you know, further complicated of what you have to worry about on the run. But that's one reason why you do want to get rid of them. And they're bad also because they are proximity, which means if they're just within a vicinity, I have to actually either pull them or kill them. Because I cannot just go around them. I can't just move around them. So right now the position of that one is not particularly great. Here I'm actually gonna rage. Oh, actually, yes, that's it. The only reason I'm doing this is because I am watching my time, so I'm gonna go a little bit faster to get towards the exit. On a normal run, I wouldn't do this. I'd kind of clear it up, and that'll be fine. But we'll just move towards the exit. That aggroed because that was proximity, and off we go. And now we have the 180 boss.
Nice. You made it. I actually didn't didn't think we were going to do it.
Well, the power-ups were good to us. I'm gonna dump this. Alright, Mr. Behemoth. Now, the timing of my Strength and Steel, I do need Strength and Steel for this fight, which he popped earlier, is a little bit tight, so I might have to re-up later. But that's okay, and we'll use it, because we're doing this run as is anyway. We're only doing this set, so it doesn't really matter what my pro managers look like. But this is big boy, Dendainsonne, or we always just like to call him Behemoth because that's much easier. This fight as a starter point is kind of simplistic. It's a set rotation. Unlike kind of the rest of Deep Dungeon coming up to this point, a lot of things were RNG, what enemies spawn, what full manners we get, but this fight is a scripted fight. It goes, I can predict what it's going to do, I know its pattern, etc., and we're going to use that to our advantage as we are trying to whittle this thing down to a certain percentage. And I'm going to get this to a certain point, and I'll talk about kind of what this guy is doing, because after this kind of section here, he's going to kind of reset back to the top, of like almost like how we just pulled him. So he's going to do a little bit more damage here. He's going to run up to the gates and then do a trounce ability on this side. Now I stay close to him for this. So here, let's demonstrate and let's talk about this thing. So let's say I just pull him, boom, just pull him. He'll do a couple auto attacks, and then he'll do a large conal, which I want to be away from. If I get hit with that, that's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to do probably more than half my HP even with the buff. Then it's going to drop 2 Charybdis AoEs, which expand. So if you saw the first telegraph, look at it again and it expands. So I have to be a little bit away from that. And what that does is that it's like a tornado funnel, and it'll pull me in if I'm in that AoE on top of giving me a DOT. And that's bad, especially if we incur that damage later. He does another conal here, and then he will run to the south, which is, again, a set pattern. And I kind of do this in a clockwork positioning because it kind of favors. Because if I'm in the opposite side of the arena and then he goes all the way there, then it's kind of bad. And actually, for the sake of demonstration, I'll show you what happens when you do that. So we're just doing damage here. He'll drop 2 more Charybdises, and the rotation on this side is just a little bit different. It'll be 2 here, followed by another Conal, followed by 1 more Charybdis after like 1 or 2 auto attacks, and then he goes Trounce. So here I'm going to drop that one. I'm going to be on the opposite side of the arena here just to demonstrate this here, to see how big that Conal is. And my positioning is very specific because I want to be able to avoid this. So I'm going to sprint to make sure that we don't have a problem here. I'm going to run away now. You see how big that Conal is. So being a little bit kind of aware of his positioning does help, and that's why I kind of go in this kind of clockwork position. And I'm thinking after here, Frosty, probably up until about 30% is when we're just going to let them do a lot of donations, unless you got things to talk about. Because on 30 is when I'll
time
probably
for donations.
More to focus on.
We got a donation here from it looks like Rick and Morty 69.
Wow.
They're donating 420 bucks, and they said, "Hey man, I was just watching this and I thought we were playing Final Fantasy 15 for a second, but you know, this is good stuff, man. It's good. Thanks Rick. Thanks Rick. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, another donation here. Oh boy, this is a big one. This is his name is YP. Y.P.
Oh, Y.P, huh?
And I wonder who it could be, but they're donating $100,000.
Damn, 100,000. Whoa.
And they said, "I'm a secret admirer. I love all the work that you guys are doing here in the community. It inspires us to make lots of content in our game that I will not mention the name of." And
yeah, okay.
I just want to support what you guys are doing, and good on you guys. Good on you guys.
Yeah, excellent. Good job.
So I think we're officially the most popular and most donation earning stream.
Just right there. Just that one donation. Damn, dude.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
We get the big boys.
Yeah. We'll probably do one more. You got one more in there?
Yeah, one more. This is from Angelus's mom.
Oh, wow. Let's go.
She said, "Dinner's ready."
Oh, damn. Oh,
really? Wrap it up. We gotta
pause the game.
Can you pause the game, son? Son, it's getting cold.
Yeah, just hit the pause button, forehead.
Yeah, jeez. All right.
Alright, so here, I want to push this up to about 21. I'm trying to get this to a specific rotation here. Yeah, this will be good now. So it's at 23, 22. We're going to use a Pomander called a Lust Pomander. I'm going to do a Tactician, which gives me additional defense, and then we do a sustaining potion to keep me up. This Lust, what this does is it applies a roam down onto the boss. And we'll need this for our DPS push later on, because we need to kill Behemoth literally as fast as possible. So I'm going to be trying to sneak in as much as I can. This is pretty tough because we're losing healings at some point, which we did right there. I dump it, I get to 5. So basically this means I'm doing about 50% damage additional on top of what I'm already doing. Now, I do not want to push this past 15%, because once it goes past 15, boom, it's time for Meteor. So I'm going to be just kind of managing this HP little by little, doing small auto attacks. I have a macro that I'm going to be using that gives me percentages on this boss. So right now, this boss is at 15.9. Now it's at 15.8, 15.7, 15.5, 15.3. We go one more. Okay, good. Now, if it goes at 14.9%, it is Meteor push time. Let's try this out. Okay, we're gonna do a very tricky strategy, which is something new that we had come in because of the update. Let's see if I can pull this off. I forgot my turret, so this is bad. Maybe I don't need a turret. I have drill. Oh, okay, there we go. Now that's how I want it to go. I forgot my turret.
Good job.
Here we go. That's the run.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting if like you're able to limit your chat window to say chat. Because are you putting the macro in say? Where are you putting the?
Yeah, like, so it's in say here, and like I can open it up. I'm like wondering if I should increase the size of the thing. Like it's there,
you
but
can
it's
just put
small.
it like above your head, right?
You know.
Oh,
true.
actually, no, that's right. They're just showing your gameplay. That's right. It's not the same thing as the stream. Yeah, no, you're right. I think it should be good because it will show on the stream.
Can we increase the size of that? Do you know if we can do that?
I'm pretty sure you could change the text size.
All right.
Actually, I think it might involve changing sizes of multiple things.
Okay, I have to look into it. Yeah, I was actually worried about that. Like, can you see it? Oh, actually, you can't see because my head's there. But can
Yeah,
you
I
see
can see because your head's in the way.
Can you see that clearly?
I can see.
Well,
yeah, I think I can see it pretty clearly. If someone's watching on their phone, they wouldn't be able to see it. But if they're watching on their computer, they'd be able to see. Oh, there's some yellow text over there. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's the run.
Yeah.
Nice
So I guess shout outs now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So everybody come watch the world race happening like on the 24th probably, and we're gonna do charity stuff there too. Biggest event probably of the year for Final Fantasy 14. Come over
after
there
this
next.
one, right? After this one.
After this one, sure. Yeah, after this one. After this one.
Yeah.
And then you could do your shout out.
Yeah. Just shout out community, the guides and all the people, awesome people, and the whole of everyone who plays this game. You know, all that stuff. I'll do something better than that, but yeah. Shout out Mr. Frosty, of course. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, this couch is comfy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. Yeah.
Man, this would be really cool if they did in person.
Sick, dude. I know. Bless Frosty, guys, by the way. I'm looking at chat now. But bless Frosty. I told Frosty, I'm like, hey, man, so I'd like you to be how do you think about being on my couch? He's like, I gotta check if I gotta check with my family, let me see what the flights are looking at. I'm like, bro, dude, chill. It's gonna be online, no worries, man.
Yeah. Dude,
I'm ready to fly out right now. It's like, oh my god.
I'm gonna fly out. I got my daughter with me on the couch. I'm like, all right, let's just do this, man. I'm here for you.
Yeah, that was really funny. I thought that was awesome. You're just ready to go. Already halfway packing.
Dude. No, yeah. I think it's a really cool opportunity. And I'm really happy if I can help in any way. But I think most of it is going to be a lot of. I'm going to do my best. I think not to be. Because there's little insertives I can have, like, because I do that a lot during like Mog Talk, and I need to like cut that out a little bit because no one really cares about those They're listening to what you're saying, and so I think that we had a decent amount. It's gonna be mostly, I think, you talking in the end, because you have all the information and things are going, but then it starts to slow down after the third floor, right? And then we can start bringing in different things, and then I can just catch things if I can catch them.
Yeah, you did a good job with that one. I tried to give you also an opportunity. Is like the kind of like put ask you in or something like that. And you did a fantastic job just adding flavor to the thing. But I mean,
thanks,
did you think we should have probably hit some marks a little bit more like in the beginning? Like I guess you were talking about like a description in the beginning.
Yeah, the description of Palace of Dead. I think just like, hey, Final Fantasy 14. MMO guys, this is an MMO. Just give them like a quick rundown, like one sentence, 2 sentences of, hey, this is what the game is. This is content within that game, side content, and describe the content. Just use loosely, like in our couple of sentences or so. Just give them a foundation of what they're looking at. And then when we start the run, kind of going into it, and then at some point, maybe even the first couple of floors explain the 71 to 80, 171 to 180 might be good. Just whatever we can tell them about that. I don't know if I'm not looking at your chat, but I don't know what everyone else's thoughts were. I think just to let you know, if we did that for GDQ, we'd be 100% perfectly fine. The way we did.
I mean, I would probably be like, I could have done this a little bit better. But honestly, like,
there's all things that we could do better. It's always going to be something that we could do better.
Yeah.
But if that's how it went down at GDQ, it would have been better than like half the runs that are out there. So I think we're at least solid on having a good foundation for it. There could be things to like improve upon it. And the only things I can think of that come like straight to mind is to set the foundation as much as we can in the beginning for what people are watching. And then the sustain thing is, I wonder if we should talk about sustain like a little bit after the run starts. You could just say, hey, I keep clicking on this potion over and over. I don't know. Actually, it's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, I
Because
was.
then we're just like over explaining too much at the beginning too, right?
Yeah, because
So-
I wanted to do, which I attempted. I don't know how it came across, but I wanted to demonstrate how it was like just literally fighting an enemy almost like typical raid style, where you just kind of just standing in place, taking damage, and then
Mhm.
shifting focus into like, oh, okay, this is all the tools we have, with
Mhm.
kiting and the potions, and then the crowd control and all that stuff. So I didn't do a good enough job, then I'll make sure I do a better job about explaining why we start
You
popping
did
out these
great.
potions.
I just want you to know you did great. I don't know if you're like really like hypercritical on what you did, but you did fantastic.
Thank you. As long as it's
Explain
clear. I mean,
everything.
if you understand what was going on,
Yeah.
then that makes me happy, because that's kind of the goal.
I understood all of it, and a lot of the terminology that we're using is pretty universal towards people who just play video games, I think, for the most part. There's, when you watch a lot of runs, they'll say stuff like, I'm using this ability or I'm using this potion, and they won't fully go into it, and they're just kind of saying words. And people are kind of used to that a little bit, right? They're not used to knowing everything about it, but you can just give them the names of a couple of things and it's fine. They don't have to know 100%. Again, this is all my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's how I would kind of feel with it, is that if they don't understand everything that we're saying, it's okay to just kind of say stuff and maybe one or two things they didn't really pick up on while you're doing the run, because they can piece things together.
Yeah, and I was trying to be like, trying to give the visuals, right? Like the box was there to look at the icon that was showing up and the stuff on top of the enemies. So I think that might help too, to at least give some type of context. I was trying to catch myself and saying like, leg raise, head raise, like what are those? Like there's just words. What are they actually doing, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, when they hear that, they're like, oh, that's an ability. Okay, leg graze. Oh, it slows them down. Got it. All right, it interrupts them. All right, got it. Things, nature works like slow and interrupt. They know what those are. So you don't even have to like dive into like a whole bunch with it. But again, I think I understood everything that you're saying perfectly fine.
Good. Okay.
And I think most people, even if they aren't very familiar with Final Fantasy, would kind of understand it at the level that's necessary to watch GDQ.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you've watched, I'm sure, tons of GDQ.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you've watched some runs and they're like saying stuff, they're calling things out. But you don't have to understand everything to still enjoy that run, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't kill yourself too much on it. The biggest thing I would say is just enjoy it and just kind of have fun, and eventually you kind of fall into a groove.
Yeah.
And it just feels normal and comfortable, and it's just you doing a thing and talking about it.
Yeah,
Are you going to keep chat up?
No, when I do the run, I will not. I didn't have chat up today. I wasn't looking at it at all. I have post off everywhere, so. Well, I have it now.
Yeah, you could totally do it. I personally, when I've done any kind of commentary at all, I ignore chat as much as I can. It's gone. I don't want to even know what the numbers are on the stream. I don't want to know anything. I just focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I can survive. Especially when I'm like on stage.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta do something to hype up the crowd. Let me do something real quick. It's a little bit different. But you got to get in the zone. You're just looking at the screen and you're just kind of doing your thing. And you're doing a great job kind of dialing back and not like, and trying to, dialing back to be able to cater towards maybe a less informed crowd. I think you've done that. You've achieved that pretty well.
Okay.
There's probably a couple things that could be smoothed out, but again, I guarantee you, if we had to do GDQ, like they were like, hey, log in right now, do it, and we did it, we'd be great.
Yeah, I think we do it pretty good. Yeah, honestly, I think we do like pretty well. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely review the VOD and see what can be improved. Like that really wasn't bad for literally just like, hey, let's just get together and just swing it.
Well, what are your thoughts? Yeah, so what are your thoughts so far?
Well, honestly, like, I over prepared. I mean, if that wasn't obvious already. So I was already envisioning like, okay, how much can I talk about? Like, I'm even thinking about like how I usually do these runs on stream. But honestly, like, I think I had more points that I could have touched upon, and even it crossed my mind. I'm like, I could talk about this thing. But I'm just like, I don't have time. Like, I got other things to talk about. So definitely, like, I guess it's now understanding, like, I'm just not getting to everything, which is fine. But I need to, like, kind of just, I guess, proportion it out properly, or like,
figure out. Do you have like key points of things like this is what I want to talk about? These are things I have to mention.
I mean, the trap play was something I want to do, even if it botched this, we botched it. Yeah, like the silver chest I tried, but that didn't go in. Oh, you know what? Speaking about legacy and standard, I wanted to talk about that.
The controls.
Yep, I missed that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's
Yeah.
pretty important, because a lot of people, that's actually a common question about how are you running backwards and like not like, you know, not getting whipped back from the GCDs, which is the standard thing. Like if you're playing standard, every time you GCD, look back at the enemy. So yeah, missed that one.
That is a really good point. That one of the highlights of what you're doing is that it's a keyboard only, and we didn't bring that up.
Yeah, we didn't talk.
once.
We didn't talk a lick. Yeah, not a sentence on that. That's true. Yeah, missed that one too.
Yeah, especially if they show your keyboard, we probably should just highlight that.
Yeah,
just a little bit. And I mean, it is probably going to be more of like, hey, this is just how I play the game. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and then also I had, let's see, we got the aggro explanation. Oh, and then kind of the amount of hours it took for, like, actually the backstory of like how the run is formulated and how many hours it takes to do the run would probably go into the PoTD explanation as a quick rundown. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I had.
Definitely worth shouting out, like the whole solo community and Palisade community too at the end. Yeah. No, those are like the only kind of notes I can think of off the top of my head. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna kind of review the VOD on my end when I get a chance to see, like, just kind of see how it flows together and be like, you know, kind of note down other things if anything. But
yeah,
so.
And anything, by the way, no matter what I said, if you think all the shit I said is bullshit, that's perfectly fine too. You just tell me what you want me to do, and I will do whatever I can to kind of support you with it too.
I mean, I don't know, Chad, how you thought Frosty did, but I thought you did absolutely fantastic. Like, just kind of, you know, we said kind of that guy, like, not guy, but like kind of like the ideal thingy, and you kind of nailed it perfectly. So, yeah, like, yeah, that. I mean, whatever you just did is perfect.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if you bring up those key points too, like if you want to like put those in a document, what I can do is I can look at those things, and if for some reason I realize that maybe we're missing one of those, and I can find a moment to bring it up, I'll bring it up for you.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay.
If we feel like maybe it just for some reason it just didn't hit, and there might be a good spot to just try to jump into it.
Yeah.
I can help kind of facilitate that if you want as well.
Yeah, that, and I guess because I got more conscious later on about the whole like getting donations in, because I think you pushed that into, so I got to kind of think about that too. So
it's a weird, right? Because you always kind of like the person who's reading the donations is kind of like, when can I jump in? I don't know when to jump in. And then I don't know if we need to queue them off. It depends on who's reading the donations, right?
I think we do queue them off. I'm like, hey, you got like you could read that like 1 or 2 donations kind of thing. And I wouldn't want to cut them off. Like, I could technically cut them off at some point, but yeah, like...
Unless if something's really important, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So...
Alright.
Okay.
I mean, I hope you felt like you were, like, really... Like, again, one of the ones I really wanted to make important was, like, you were, you know, not just there, but you were really part of, and kind of part of this run, so I hope that got achieved, if anything. I wouldn't mind if you talk more, that's perfectly fine with me, you know? But
well, I'll see how that works out. Like the thing is, like, there's just so much to explain.
Yeah, there is.
And you know, I don't want to disrupt your flow with that too. And so, it's more of me finding the spots where I feel like it might be a good time to jump in and do something. But if you're explaining stuff, I don't want to interrupt it, because again, you know, they're focusing on what you're doing, and what you're explaining is good for them too. And so everything that I throw in there is extra. And I don't want to take away from what you're providing to the stream. Okay. So
yeah, and then kind of what you pointed, like having like kind of key points. I think that's something I will for sure. I think if you wanted to do this again at some point,
we can.
I definitely will send that over, so that at least we could have that practice, you know, to get that kind of down packed and everything. Yeah, I'll definitely gather that up.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, Tuesday nights work out pretty good. All I'm going to do is stream and raid anyways, so
okay.
I don't mind just hanging out. This is fun to do anyways.
Okay. I mean, I would definitely wanted to go at least twice, and if for some reason you wanted to go at least one more time, that's perfectly fine with me.
Sure.
So I'll let you know. I'll get back to you about when we can do it next. It'd probably be like maybe in like at least 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks.
Well, probably just not next week would probably be good.
Yeah.
I mean, we could. I mean, Tuesday is not a big day. next week. Thursday's the bigger day, I
Yeah,
guess. But
yeah, I'm thinking like the week after that, or like even after that, or something like that. I'll definitely let you know.
sure.
But hey, thank you for coming. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time. I'm very
Yeah.
excited that you were gung ho about this, and you did honestly exactly what I thought you'd bring to the table, if not even more than that, because you're just a seasoned professional. So thank you for that.
I wouldn't say seasoned professional.
Please,
I've just
please,
been the
dude.
person who kind of did it sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, it shows. I mean, like my guys said, you did a fantastic job, which I thought you did a fantastic job. So appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Angelus guys.
Oh.
I appreciate it. All right, man. Well, I'll let you get back to your stream.
Yeah, and good luck on your end. Have fun with raid.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna try to do one more raid real quick, and then I'll clock out.
All right.
But yeah, dude, we'll get at least a couple more. I'm more than happy to do it. Just
Okay.
whatever makes you feel ready to go for it.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you for that.
All right. Yep. No problem. Talk
All
to you
right,
later, dude.
See ya.